The following content is supported by victoris.org.
While loops. This is another way of looping. So we have for loops which does something a fixed number of times. Let's say not fixed number of times, it's a certain amount of times. But what if, let's say, how does a login system work? How does Facebook's login roughly work? Not exactly, but let's try to simulate a Facebook login system. So what's the logic behind it? It basically tells you to keep on trying the password until you get it correct, right? So it looks something like for I in range a huge number over here, infinity. Then maybe password equals to input, enter password. And then if password equals to some secret password, I call it secret, then print correct, else print try again, something like that. Okay. So if I put 1 2 3 3 2 1 wrong, if I put the correct password with secret, then this conditional would be true, correct? And you print correct. It says correct. Okay? But usually when it's correct, then you start letting you log in, right? They won't now it's just printing correct, but then it's just going back again to here to ask me for the password again. Maybe I want to exit the for loop if I get it correct. The short answer is, one way you can do is you can put something called a break statement over here that basically tells Python, I want you to break out of the for loop immediately. So stop, don't execute forever. Don't execute this number of times. When I run a break command, it exits the for loop immediately. And then after the for loop, maybe I say, good job. Welcome to the club. Something like that. So I run, then now whenever I type the wrong password, it tells me try again. If I type the correct password, it says correct, and then break would break out the for loop and go over here. Any questions about break? I think it could be quite understandable. Yeah, this is one way to do it. Another way, if I don't want to use break, okay, so something that's annoying over here is because this is 100,000 times, right? Yeah, I can surely increase it forever, spam a bunch of nines over it, and effectively it's forever, but deep down we know it's not truly forever, right? If someone tried many times, tried for a few years, maybe he can get it, which is not right logically. So introducing something called while loops. So now, okay, so what I can do is I can replace this entire thing with while, and then while is another form of loop. It's called while loop, and inside here I'll put in the conditional. Let's say that I just put conditional true while true. Okay. Then this would actually run forever because true. So when I have a while loop over here, it says while conditional, as long this the code inside the while loop similar to the code inside the for loop, right? That has an indentation. The code inside the while loop will keep on running until this conditional is false. In this case, since it's always true, it's just gonna keep on running forever until we hit break. Okay, so that's the while loop. It just runs it forever. So for the for loop, it's useful for when you want to. The for loop is useful when you want to execute a bunch of code a fixed number of times. But the while loop is useful when you want to execute the code as long as some conditional is true. Yeah, while checking whether some conditional is true. Yeah, just want to double check. Your screen recording, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, so it'll make a bit more sense if I do something like while password is not equals to secret. So over here, I ask the user for their password. Enter password. Wrong. Enter password. Again. Now if I run this code, what would it do? It creates the first line creates a variable called password, and it sets it to the user's input. So you see it says enter password. I say something. Now is the ASDF, right? Is it equals to secret?
No.
No, right? So this means not equals lah. I can also this means not equals. So in this case, it's true. So it will execute line 3. So it says enter password again. I keep on doing it until I get the correct one. I type secret. Now secret goes in the variable password. Is secret not equal secret? No, because they're equal. So this conditional is false. So it stops executing the code inside the while loop, and it will exit it. Exit the while loop. Go over here. Again. So the while loop will keep on executing the code inside the while loop as long as the conditional is true. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, okay, so that's about it. We can attempt question 1 now. Yeah, I only have one question. So so let's have some hands-on exercise for the while loop. So what's the condition that you want to keep on asking the user for the password? Because inside the code, inside the while loop, you're gonna ask the user for the password, right? So what's the condition that you want to keep on asking the user for the password?
Password is wrong.
Yeah, correct. So how do you translate password is wrong into code? What would it be like? Okay, so great. You ask the user for the password. Password first input. Well, the password is wrong, and in this case, wrong meaning is not equals to some fixed designated password that you want to write. Okay, remember it needs to be. It's currently looking for a variable called yay. So yeah, you need to put it in. It's looking for a variable called yay, but you want yay to be literally the string, right?
How?
You can put quotes around yay. Would that make sense?
Why?
Wait. So when you write yay without the quotes, it's comparing the value of the variable password, which is correct, with the value of the variable yay, but you didn't define a variable called yay, right? Yeah. So that was wrong. But why is this correct? It's because it's currently comparing the value of the variable password with the value yay, the string value yay. So when we write a word in Python, if we write password, let's say without the quotes, is a variable name. But if we write password with the quotes around it, like that password, is the text password is a value. So password without the quotes is a variable name, is a variable, but passwords with the quotes is a value. You store value in variables. It's like 5. With the quotes, it's like 5 is a value, right? It's a number value. Password with the quotes is a string value, is a text value.
But you're not gonna print it, what?
So you're saying we're not gonna print yay, is it?
Yeah. Then why is there need to
Store it as a value. Because you're comparing the yay value, the text value, with the password.
Oh.
When the user types in yay, right, it'll be effectively saying password equals to yay. When the user types in yay or whatever they type in, it'll be password equals to whatever the user type in over here.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're comparing password like that. Make sense? That's right. So you tell them wrong password if it's not the correct password. Oh, you don't need an else. There's no else inside your conditional. So, okay, so I understand what you're trying to do here. You're trying to say, while the password is incorrect, you say wrong password, right? If the password is correct, then you want to tell them correct password. Okay. But you don't write an else here because you want the while loop is not a it's a conditional over here, but it'll keep on executing line 4 as long as the conditional is true. So meaning, right, you just type wrong password like that over here, then you put the correct password stuff outside the while loop. So meaning that they'll be trapped inside the while loop until they get it correct. Then they exit the while loop. So previously for the conditional if else, right, it was if conditional do this, else do this. But this while loop is more like while the conditional is true, you're stuck inside the while loop, stuck inside until the user gets the password correct, then you exit the while loop. Yeah. So the code that you want to the correct password and stuff will be outside the while loop without the indentation. Would that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, okay, let's try how do I say? Okay, so while the password is wrong, print wrong password. Okay, then after that, what do you want to do? Okay, so I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to say inside, if password is correct, then say correct password, right? But you in this case, you want to put the correct case where the password is correct outside the while loop, because when there's a wrong password, they'll be trapped inside the while loop.
But how?
Okay, so you just put it over here, line 7, right? Print correct password. You see that line 4 is inside the while loop, right? Line 7 is outside the while loop.
So does that mean that automatically it will print that if say you didn't
Yeah.
if you wrote yay.
So if I run this, if I write yay, you see it says correct password because this conditional was false, correct? This conditional was false. Yay not equals yay is false. Right? So it didn't run this at all. It just exited the while loop and continued with whatever following code there was in the main body.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the idea. We want to keep the user trapped inside the while loop until they get the correct password. Okay? Make sense?
Yeah, I can't get it.
Okay, so if I there's something gonna be funny in here. If I let's say I write the wrong password, it's spamming me a wrong password. It didn't ask the user to input again. Do you know why? Password equals to input password, right? I inputted the wrong password. So that one not equals yay is true. And so this condition is true. And it printed wrong password. Okay, then it goes evaluate the conditional again. It was still true, so it printed wrong password. So the value of password I didn't give a user the chance to change the value of the variable password. Yeah. So what can I do inside the while loop?
Input again.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to ask the user for input. Okay, and then it's a bit annoying sometimes. Okay, let's try. Okay, let's type a wrong password again. Okay, so let's type in the correct password this time. Still says wrong password. What went wrong? So I'm asking the user to input a new password again, right? The user inputted yay, so this part is replace the function returned yay. And what's the value of password? It was still the initial one, because inside this, did I change the value of password? Inside here, I just say print wrong password, ask the user for the input. Did I say store the user's input in the variable password? No, right? No, does it make sense? Remember, look at your first line, right? You store the user's input in the variable password. And look at line 5. Do you store the user's input in the variable password? Right. You look at line 1. Your line 1 is stored the user's input in the variable password. Correct. But in line 5, you just ask the user for the input. You didn't store the user's input anywhere. So the correct edit would be to say password equals the input password again. Would that make sense?
How come?
Because currently, okay, when I type yay, right, it's effectively, in the second time I type yay, it's effectively replacing this entire thing with the string yay. I want to say password equals yay, right? Like over here, whatever the user inputted, it will say password equals to whatever user that you inputted. Over here, just now you just had input. You didn't replace the value of password. So the password value didn't change in lines 4 and 5. Lines 4 just prints out the wrong password, right? And line 5, it asks the user for input. But what's the value of password? All along, the first time it was set to whatever the user initially inputted, which is ASDF. This one just evaluates. It didn't change the value of password. So what does the while loop do? The while loop keep on running lines 4 and 5 as long as the password is not equals yay, right? And if it's not equals yay, I want to give the user another chance to change the value of the password variable. Any questions? Okay, maybe you can step me through each line by line. What's
I don't get why you must use the same password variable.
you must use the same password variable because if you okay, so it's entirely okay. So if you, let's say you tried, right, you say new password equals to input, like that, right? Then now you see the conditional here. I need to say while new password equals not equals yay. New password not equals yay.
Why?
Because I want this is whatever the user inputted again. I want to compare the user's new input with the correct password. But then this would mean that this one doesn't match up, right? So I only have one password variable. And I want to keep on changing the value of password. Because this conditional inside here, I'm comparing the value of password against yay.
Oh,
Hmm?
I cannot get it.
So the correct edit, right? Maybe I'll show you the correct edit and you explain to me. Okay, so let's try, right? So now this is the correct code lah. Completely correct already. Wrong password. Yay, correct password. Then it stops. It doesn't ask the user for it again. So maybe if you can try explaining to me like if you were to teach someone.
The variable was defined at first.
Yep, correct. We define the variable. And what's the value? We ask the user for the value. Yeah, and in this case, the value I inputted was ASDF. Okay?
Okay, and this value is not equals to yay.
Yeah.
That's why
the
this was printed.
Correct. Yeah.
And when this was printed, an input was asked again.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. And we stored the user's input in password.
Oh.
And then after that, we go back one round again. We evaluate whether the conditional is true. Right? In this case, the second input is still wrong.
Oh.
It does this. And this asks the user again. And keep on doing it until the user input correct value. Then when we evaluate the conditional, it's false. So it stopped. And it existed. And it went to line 7. Can? Yeah.
I need to practice this one.
Sure. Yeah, okay. I think I maybe should add more exercises. Maybe I should. Yeah, I think this is a common struggle lah. Like this thing has got people write password too, then like they don't understand also. Then yeah, I need to rethink the way I teach while loops. So while loops, for loops, what's the link between them? For loops keep on executing a line of code for a fixed number of times, while loops keep on executing a line of code that is as long as the conditional is true, right? Can you emulate? So actually internally, right, a for loop is actually to the computer, right? A for loop is actually compiled down to a while loop. Like you actually achieve a for loop using a while loop. It's just the syntax is for I in range. When you write for I in range 3 into the computer, right, inside is actually a while loop. So actually while loops are the more fundamental loops. Like they're like the logical foundation kind of. For loops kind of builds on top of while loops. So question now is, how do you emulate for loops using while loops, right? So previously we had for I in range 3 or for I in range 5, print I. This prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Correct? Okay, how do I emulate that in a while loop? Let's try. So I can have a variable x equals to 0 while x is less than 5, print x, and then x equals to x plus 1. So this is, you see now that this also prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is effectively saying this is kind of emulating a for loop using while loop, because you print x and then you increment x by 1 and you keep on doing it until x hits the value of 5, this 5 being the sort of parameter they pass into range here, kind of loosely speaking. Yeah. Small thing, right? What if I change this x from this to here? Would it make a difference? The answer is actually yes, because now instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And why is that so? It's because I incremented the value of x first and then I printed it out. So, yeah, just a short aside. It's not too important. Okay. If not, that's all for this lesson. Let me see what else I have. Yeah, so I have some animations here. Okay, I want to go through. Okay, so okay, since I made the slides already, I will make. Okay, so this is the first code, right? It prints 0 to 4. So what it did was created a variable called x equals to 0. The console was empty, right? Then I'm gonna step through it in the slides. So while this conditional is true, right? So it printed x to the screen, which has the value of 0. They incremented x by 1, and it evaluated conditional again, and it printed x, and it increment x by 1, then evaluate the conditional again. Okay, so the code will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So so this conditional is true, right? 0 less than 5. At this frame, at this snapshot, the conditional is true, correct? So at this snapshot, the conditional is true, right? When x is the value of 0. So it printed x to the screen. So it went into the conditional. It went into the while loop, which printed x, and then it incremented x by 1. Okay, now we reach the end of the while loop, so it goes back to the start of the while loop again. It re-evaluates the conditional. It's 1 less than 5. So x is the value of 1, right? 1 less than 5 is true, right? So it goes into the while loop. It executes line 3 and 4. So it prints x to the screen, which is 1, and then incremented x by 1. Okay? Okay, then it goes back again, evaluates. So x is now 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, right? So it prints 2 to the screen. Yeah, okay. Now, so I step forward, print 0 to 4. And then, okay, let's look at the last iteration lah. So we see 3. Now x is the value of 4. 4 less than 5 is true. Print x to the screen, 4. Now x is increment x by 1, which is 5 now. 5 less than 5 is false. So we stop there.
It moves out of the loop.
Yeah, correct. That's why it goes out the loop. I think that helps, right? Okay, great. Okay, yeah. It's very painful. Right? I need to edit one by one. Okay, then let's consider another scenario. Let's say we swap the order of these two. For this order, we saw 0 to 4. Now we see 1 to 5. Let's understand why it's 1 to 5. Okay, so this is a bit of a subtlety. So we see that we now increment x first, then we print x to the screen. So what's that? So why? Okay.
Okay, I get.
Okay, great. Then my slides are useless. Because, yeah. Okay, Ken, you get it, right? Increment x first, then we print it. Yeah. Okay, so if not, that's all for while loops.